Howdy, 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 everybody. Brian here yet again. Okay, so I've got two designs on the go, testing them out. If you went through my course, you can bang out these bots pretty quickly. It takes not much to build one and modify it for different purposes, literally probably within 2 hours. So let me show you what's happened over the last 24 hours, being today, April 30th. So yesterday, this is a 5-day chart with Bitcoin. You can see here it's gone up from about 7,600 and it peaked all the way up to 9,400. So you're looking at within a two-day period, this Bitcoin has moved $2,000. Okay, which is huge. So you would think this little bot that I'm designing, this one, would perform really well, and it did last night. I'm going to tell you about some of the indicators I'm using and I'm finding some success with. This is a new Bitcoin bot that I'm testing out. It's working off of two factors: minute data and sub 1 minute data, or tick data. So what we're dealing with is the tick data comes from the futures market. I put up an article right here, or a video called Most Powerful High Frequency Trading, aka HFT, like metric for a crypto trading bot. So that's built off of that, looked at some of the metrics that we've looked at. So what we're essentially involving here is the order book from the futures data, from not just the order book on the bid and ask, but it also includes only executed trades. And when I say executed trades, those are that are actually filled on the exchange, like in my case, Binance. So it factors them in, and that's how this ratio is developed. So here, when you look at this type of chart, it's moving up. So you got very strong momentum for probably a day, day and a half. Okay, so that's kind of like should be winning for you. So when I finished this bot here, it was winning a lot, but how it was working was it would take a profit, but because of the commission fees, even though it's 1/10% on Binance, you have to make sure that every single position that's taken is going to be profitable after the commission, and that's a big challenge. At least only on Bitcoin. This thing only trades Bitcoin, nothing else, and it only looks at the price, the raw price of Bitcoin, both in the spot and more emphasis on the futures market for the extra data you get, as I mentioned in that video as well. On top of that, I've been testing a lot of indicators with some indicators you may never heard of. One called APO, another one called KAMA, and then ratio. The ratio is the ratio of number of sells and buys, or long and shorts, of actually executed orders over a time frame of 10 ticks or whatnot. And it also factors in calculating midpoint and mid price, and there's a big difference there. I believe I put a post up on the blog. So this one is combining a number of what you think is simple factors, but don't. So when I say ratio, that's the number of buys versus the number of sells in a snapshot. So it's looking for a certain ratio of 1.5 before it takes an entry of basically, let's say 66, 2/3 buys and sales of actually ordered of Bitcoin, of actual real orders of Bitcoin on the exchange. Because it's a flip of a coin when you're at half buys, half sales. These are, again, real orders. These are not just bid and ask, which are just quotes. These are actual orders. So that's one factor I take into account. APO, or let me talk about Gamma as well. I don't find this Gamma, Kaufman, adaptive moving average as useful. It's good to show you averages of the overall price, and each one of these is separated out by 1 minute. And the order taken on the ratio is every minute as well, but it does deeper when it meets these metrics, and it will do one more check on the actual wheel orders of buys and sells. The APO out of all of this, you'll see here I have RSI as well. RSI is always useful, and that's more for confirmation on trading volume. It's not going to be buy at standard 70 or 80 or buy at or undervalued of 30 or 20. RSI, from what I'm tracking with Bitcoin, if it goes into a mean reversion, like from this point here, where it kind of goes into a weird mean reversion, what I'm finding is the RSI, if there's a solid entry, will be at least 55 for a potential entry. The other thing is this APO, which I should look up. That is kind of reliable. So let me pull up that. Okay. So if I look up TALib APO indicator, let's see what this is. So right here, it's a momentum indicator. And this one seemed to be pretty good. Absolute price oscillator. So that's basically what this spot is. It will take trades as it's oscillating on the price. So it doesn't matter if it's mean reverting or trending. If it's oscillating with if it's oscillating with APO, it's reliable regardless of what if it's trending or mean reverting. And obviously, when it's negative, it means it's going to have a downward move. So on the exit front, I like to use this APO, at least for now, that probability-wise, when it starts to show price action after a position, an open position, it starts to show any sort of weakness, and the APO goes negative, and it measures it between each move, minute by minute, chances are that the position or the price will weaken and will start to trend down. And that's where you get this business of these little downward moves. And the APO looks pretty good to catch that. So I kind of like that so far. As I said, Gamma's another move. Now, again, you need to know on this type of data, be it from spot market or from the futures market. All these metrics that you're seeing here are from the futures market with Bitcoin. As I said, this only works on Bitcoin. So not only that, but we're taking data, tick data, the bid and ask, and actually streaming it minute by minute. I really tried to capture the moves in streaming, but Binance cut me off after one instance where I had it running for 4 hours, and it just cut me off, saying too many. Basically, it wasn't working. I'll just leave it at that. So I just want to highlight that as one of the other challenges. So here, launching this bot, anywhere along here, I was making money, but as I said, you have to factor in your commission both on the buy side and the sell side. So that's 0.1% for both sides. So you're dealing with 0.2% on commission. So you have to factor that in as a form of a break even to make sure you're profiting. So going back to that, you can see some of the challenges that you will face. Now here is another problem you'll see here. You can see the APO will work well enough where it gets launched, I don't know when, a few minutes ago. But you see here on the APO where it's negative for a while, and then it starts to go positive again. So if you were to use the rate of change, this seems to be, as it stands right now, fairly consistent and predictable so far of what I've tested. And that you can get that through TA-lib, as I showed earlier. So that's some of the challenges you'll face with the Bitcoin. And this is the Bitcoin bot that I've got running right now. Okay, so that's number one. So then I thought I'd extend the idea to USDT or Tether. So in this case, what we're doing is this bot can only work with the spot market. So it's what I showed you with the Bitcoin. It could kind of work for any coin in the futures market on Binance, but you have to factor in volume. So shown this before, if you look at the volume of Binance over a 24-hour period, where if you go, let's say, Binance volume, or coin volume by 24-hour period, what we'll do is, here you go. So now you'll see on CoinMarketCap, which is the reliable one. Actually, no. This is critical to see this. Binance Coin. Let's make sure we get the difference between Binance and Binance Coin. So let me see here. There you go. Binance trade volume. Really important to notice this because this bounces around a lot. Over the last number of days, I've been tracking this. And usually what you'll find is the coins that are trading or the pairs that are trading by volume. And you can get that here on the 24-hour volume. Obviously, Bitcoin is the leader. And then maybe, just maybe, you might get Ethereum, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash. And notice here, it's no longer Tether USDT, but you also could factor in BUSD, which is Binance US dollar as well. So be aware of that. And then you have a few other coins that you can watch. And usually in here that will come up is these two, Chainlink and Tezos as well. And then the other big challenge you'll face is if the coins are moving with Bitcoin or they're moving against Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin is moving down, you may get some coins that will move against Bitcoin. That's what you want to pick up. So I built a script which will do this, the following. It will go out and in the Tether market, it will factor in the performers out of 120 that are listed in the Tether market, USDT market, spot market for Binance. So you have 112 here. What you'll find here, even though the whole space in Bitcoin, here's the latest here. So this is the crypto risk, and I used to have 4. I'm just testing this right now. You'll see here out of 12, and all of these are listed on in the Binance futures market. So all of them, you will see everything's down, including Bitcoin. It's all related around Bitcoin, obviously, but you'll get a couple of pairs that will move against Bitcoin, go against the trend of Bitcoin, which is what you want. So you have Dash, you have this one Zcash, and Atom. So when Bitcoin drops, you have a few other coins that will move against Bitcoin. So you're always getting trading opportunities. So here in this bot, you can see here there are a few coins that are moving against Bitcoin. These are the performers. So here we have BSV, Bitcoin SV, and two other ones I've never heard of, Bear, Key, and a few other ones. And then there's also these other weird pairs like EOS, Bear, XRP, Bear against Tether. I'm not going to trade those. Well, I might trade them, it just depends. These are early days for this particular bot. So let me show you that bot here. So again, this bot is somewhat built off of the Bitcoin bot I've just talked about, but this one is, as I said, only works in the spot market for all these 112 pairs that I've just shown you here, and it's only going to work with the top 3 performers. Okay, so what you'll find here is these were the top performers: Key, USDT, BSV, USDT, and then ZIL, USD, ZIL against Tether. So you have all these pairs here. So essentially, it only will watch the top 3. So essentially, these 3, and it will check and run the this and generate this list every half hour. So this will get refreshed every half hour and only focus on the top 3. So with that in mind, similar to the Bitcoin or any other bot that I'm testing, you can see here we have the Key, the BSV, and the old ZIL. And then what will happen is if there's certain metrics that are met, the entry, then it will take a position. Now again, this is early days, so it's going to show nothing but losses. But again, this is the challenge of bot design. So when you have BSV USDT, it was quite clear that you would be making some cash. Here, it took this position, exited out, and you have a loss. Okay, right here. And you have a few entries here as well. So depending upon the volatility, which is a lot, you don't want to take those pairs because they're just that. They're moving up and down very quickly, and you have to test the length of the stability of that pair to make sure it stays profitable, at least performing in a profitable position. So you have to test for that. So right now I generate, as I said, this list in USDT every half hour. So what I'm thinking to make sure that it is stable is maybe not just run that every half hour, but also run it every 5 minutes, because then I can compare, let's say the Key USDT hasn't been stable for at least half an hour, and if it has, then I know chances are if it's been stable for half an hour, it may stay stable for a while, hopefully, depending upon if you're catching it. If you're catching it at the tail end, it may drop off, which means when you do take a position, you will lose money on that position, which is what you don't want. So what I'm trying to tell you is, you don't want to take on pairs that are at the last tail end of generating profit and performing, and then in the last 5 minutes you catch that trend, and then you put on a position and then you lose money. That's what you're trying to prevent. So that's one of the challenges. So here, let's do a refresh here. So in here we have this thing, positions USDT. This has been open for a while, okay? So the entry's been at 58.91, and it's just waiting on the exit side for the BSV to drop, the APO to drop, because as long as it's staying positive, which it appears to be, then it won't, it will not cut the position. But again, this could be buggy for all I know. But once it drops negative, then it will get out right off the bat, because as I said, based upon my experience on probability, if it does weaken, it will weaken. It's not going to get choppy and then go back up. The probability of that is much lower. But this pair has been pretty stable as a performer for the last few hours. But if I was to check on the price, um, yeah. Anyways, as I said, it's an early bot design. But these are a lot of challenges you'll go through, because when things move up, you'll make money. But as I said, with Bitcoin as the classic example here, you can see here, yeah, you could make money here, no problem. But if you're catching that last of the trend, then you have this to worry about. You can see it is trending down, but yet it will move up here and there. And this is part of the challenge that you'll face with crypto overall because of this choppiness. And, you want to catch these trends. So, I mean, I could go on and on about it. But it's part of the challenge of designing these things. But just wanted to show you that. Anyways, if you got questions, just let me know through the comments or email me or whatnot. We shall talk to you later. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.